Here's a peek inside the fridge and freezer that feeds our family of 3 on a single income. It's not aesthetic, but it's real. It's budget friendly and filled with the staples that keep us nourished. I'm a mom doing my best to feed my family healthy, whole foods without breaking the bank. And this is what that actually looks like. No overstuffed fridge, just intentional meals, leftovers, and frozen hacks that make life easier. Hey guys, I'm back with another video today, and I'm showing you what is in my fridge and freezer here as requested by a couple of you. We keep it pretty simple. Our fridge is never usually fully stocked, although our freezer is. So let's just start off with what's on the door of the fridge. In here, we just keep our butter, and then we have our yeast. Yeast we use for bread, butter we use, on top of bread and in baked goods. We have a hot sauce in here. I think Kai got that one for Christmas. We have jalapeno peppers. We like to add those on pizzas or in salads, kind of like bootables and things like that, but mainly on pizzas. Kai got this horseradish sauce. I forget what he was using that for, some sort of recipe, and I think he likes to put it on his burgers when he makes burgers. I get a lot of questions too, what's our dietary label? I don't like to put a label on it, but me and Makai are plant-based, so meaning we eat primarily vegan, I guess, but we do include things like butter, dairy, eggs into our diet, but we do not eat meat. However, Kai eats everything. He eats primarily plant-based as well because I am the cook here, but on the weekends, sometimes he'll make a burger or something like that, but not too often because it is cheaper to eat plant-based. This is some strawberry jam I made last summer. This is salsa. I actually have a recipe video for this. I have a short recipe that's already up, and I have a long form filmed. I just have to upload it. So we have a lot of those because I love salsa. I like to put it into, like, if I make like a Mexican bean salad or something like that, or just as a side. This is barbecue sauce. This is mustard. And then this is some garlic I prepped for the week, and I just put it into a glass bottle because I use garlic and onions almost every day. So sometimes if I have the time, I'll just prep it at the start of the week so I'm not constantly having to cut it up. This is lime extract. We're almost out. We need to get more. There's literally like maybe half a teaspoon left, so I'm probably going to use that up today. I've been using this lately instead of limes and lemons because they've just been outrageous at the store, like price wise. It's like $1 for 1 or 2, and we just go through them so quick because I make hummus and I like to add it into soups or just on top of, again, salads and things like that. I'm a citrus girl, but they're so expensive, so we've been using this lately. I know it's not the best, but it's also not the worst thing. But one of you guys actually recommended to zest or like grate the zest from the lemon and lime peels and then dry it and use that instead, so I might try that. This is Worcester sauce. That's something Kai uses for some of his recipes. Maple syrup, we get this big thing from Costco and it lasts us a long time. I just like to use this as a replacement of sugar in certain recipes. Maple syrup is full of minerals, and it's also like a local thing. It's from Canada, and yeah, it's just a healthier option than sugar. A little more expensive, but since it is local, it's not as expensive as it would be if you would get it somewhere in the States. We used to actually tap our own maple syrup. It's just something we've gotten out of, but I would like to try to do that again next winter maybe. More hot sauce that Kai got from my sister from Christmas. He got like a whole kind of gift basket of hot sauces because we love spicy food. This Kai got for free from work. He works at like a food distributing center. I mentioned that a couple times on here. And so sometimes vendors will leave things behind for either him specifically or whoever wants it. It's chow chow, I guess. So I haven't tried this yet, so I'll have to see what to add it in, but the ingredients are pretty simple. Green diced tomatoes, onions, sugar, white vinegar, kosher salt. So I think that would be good with as a topping on something, maybe like all my sweet potato burgers I make. This is like a honey spice mixture I made, and I like to just take like a teaspoon of this when I'm not feeling good. And this is a tomato sauce mixture Kai made. I don't know what the name of the recipe is, but he made this for when he makes tortillas. He likes to make a tortilla with refried beans and a little bit of cheese. Over here on this drawer, we have pickled onions. I made these in a video a couple weeks ago. We have 3 of those. more salsa. Like I said, I have a lot of salsa in here, although we do go through it quickly, so not nearly as much as I did before. Soy sauce that Kai got. He loves rice with soy sauce. And then olives. Again, I love to add these in salads. Recently, I've been doing like a tomato, cucumber, and olives, and sometimes feta when we have it. Or also on pizza. Now we are even a little bit lower on these shelves. Again, a lot of this stuff is pickled things and things that we don't reach for as often, versus the ones up here are more things that we gravitate towards, like the yeast we used often, the lime juice, the mustard and salsa. So in here we have more salsa. We have 3 jars of salsa. This is called red pepper jelly jam. My mom actually gave this to me. She usually makes this a couple times a year. You make it with like peppers, red peppers, and sugar, and it's nice just to put on crackers. If you want a recipe on that, I can share that. It's really simple to make. This is some molasses. This is another thing Kai got from work. And then back here, he has more soy sauce. Kai is someone that likes to go shopping without a list and just pick things up that we already have or try a different version of it. So that's why we have another soy sauce. These are mustard pickles. Again, this is another thing my mom made and gave us. I learned a lot of my pickling skills, canning skills from my mom. If you want a recipe on this one too, we can do that. I think we made this in the fall with pickles from our garden. This is a bitter extract I made. It was just leftovers that didn't fit in my bottles. This is some pickled pickles we made from cucumbers from the garden last year. Another jar of red pepper jelly jam. And then these are more pickles. Rhubarb jam I made last year, and another rhubarb jam. These things aren't necessary to keep in the fridge, but because we have the space, I just like to personally. So now let's go into the content that's actually in the fridge and not on the door of the fridge. Okay, so for this, you're not gonna see me, you're just gonna see my hands. I'll grab things out and show you everything. I wanna say our fridge is not always this clean and organized, although I do try to make it a priority to clean the fridge once a week, just because I find fridges can get dirty pretty easily, and you know, it's where you're storing your food. So it's one of my priority places that I try to keep clean, everything in the kitchen. If not, I kind of get grossed out and don't want to eat the food in here. This is just a little bit of a leftover salad, just cucumbers, red onion, and some tomato and spices. We actually usually have way more leftovers, but we haven't eaten dinner here for the last couple nights because we've been at my mom's house. This is coffee. It was just in the freezer and I took it out to defrost. Another huge jar of pickled onions that we are slowly using up. I like to keep a lot of the jar stuff here, but I don't keep it all up here because what happened is it was getting too heavy and the shelf started like falling. So it's a kind of half up here, half on the next shelf. Then that is pickled beets in the back. I love pickled beets. We finally just ran out of the pickled beets we had from the garden last year, so this is a store-bought one, but it's something that I think beets is one of my favorite veggies. This is some honey garlic. If you don't know, when you put honey and garlic together, it naturally ferments. It's great. It's an antibiotic, an antiviral, antibacterial. So it's great for when you're sick or just to cook with. I mean, when you cook with, it loses some of the properties. You can have it raw when you're sick, but I like to cook with it, you know, just on a regular basis or add it into dressings and stuff like that. The honey kind of spilled out, so that's why it's not covering it. So I've been trying to use this garlic first for recipes. Then my sauerkraut I also made a video on this not too long ago. We like to add this on the side of a lot of dishes. And then back there, Kai got those peppers. I don't know what he plans to use those for, but again, Kai likes spicy things and we like pickle things like that. In that back corner here, if you don't know, Kai is from Kauai, which is an island, one of the islands in Hawaii. And we went there last fall to visit his mom. His friend gave us this salt that is locally harvested there. They had a bunch they got from free from someone that just gave it to them, so they gave some to us. And we just keep it in the fridge. I don't know if that's actually the best place for it, but it was kind of moist, so that's why we kept it in there. We have another thing of molasses. I got that back in like winter time because I was doing a lot of Christmas baking with that, and we have the two because we bought that one and then his friend at work, like I said, gave the other one to him. So that's everything up here, like more pickled and canned stuff. And then on to the next one. So on this shelf, this is just some red peppers we have for a recipe that we're doing tonight. This is garlic and a piece of ginger. We always have a bunch of garlic and onions because, as I mentioned before, we use those like every day. These are eggs. Kai likes to eat just a couple eggs for breakfast. Oat milk that I made. Running out, so I'll have to make a fresh batch of that. I usually have some form of iced tea in the fridge. This is some passion fruit tea, I think. This is a pizza sauce I made, and I'll be making pizza, I think, tomorrow, so that will be used up tomorrow. Some yogurt, Greek yogurt, and sour cream. This is a tahini sauce that we've been putting on our salads and Buddha bowls. And then back there, it's just infused olive oil. The first one's rosemary, and the bottom one is just with garlic. So I'll use that for things like garlic fingers, or when we make the bruschetta or the crackers and stuff like that, that will get used up. This is Kai's drawer. This definitely needs to be cleaned. We have an extra thing of butter in here because it was on sale. We don't go through butter too often because I like to use coconut oil on my toast or peanut butter, but it's always good to have, and we like to buy them when they're on sale. We usually get two because butter can also be one of those things that is expensive. We usually get them at Kai's work because he works at a food distributing center that has like local butter and milk and things like that, but these were just such a good price, and you know, we decided to get it. But we do try to eat local when we can, but again, on a budget, that's not always possible. This is, again, a cream cheese that I got when it was on sale. I got this back when, probably in January, I made a video on making like a lime cheesecake, and I got two because they were on sale, so we still have one left. I'm going to use this up probably this week because it has to be used up soon. Then this is Kai's, like I said, drawer. He has a cheese in here, and then he has some meats, deli meats that he gets for work. Sometimes he'll bring the crackers I make and just have that as a snack with cheese and meat. So that's all that's in there. Below that, you can see here we have a thing of tofu. This is for a recipe tonight. Tofu is one of those things that we usually always have in the fridge when we go grocery shopping. We usually get 2 or 3. I love tofu, and we cook with it often. And then here we got some lettuce. Look how fresh that looks. And then for the last drawer, this is our veggie drawer. When we moved into this house, it didn't have a fridge, so we bought this off of Facebook Marketplace for I think $150 because it is quite an old fridge. And as you can see, these drawers are completely cracked, so it's kind of annoying to deal with, but it is what it is. And here, this is where we keep our onions. I know onions you don't have to keep in the fridge. They're usually best kept in a cupboard or something like that. But we have been dealing with bugs, so for me personally, I just like to keep all veggies in the fridge. If not, I kind of get the grossed out feeling that like the bugs are going to get into it. So that's why we have onions in here. And because we don't buy a lot and our fridge is usually empty, we have the space for it. So we just have some green onions. I had these in the windowsill forever, but I decided to just throw them out because the roots were looking kind of gross. And I'm going to do that again with these because if you put them in a glass of water on the windowsill, they can grow for basically ever. And then when the roots get longer, and because we are in spring now, I plan to plant it in the ground. We have a bunch of carrots. I have a recipe. I want to make a fermented carrot salad this week, and then carrot soup as well. And here we just have tomatoes and some cucumber left because we've been making a lot more salads now that it's getting a little bit warmer. And Makai just loves to eat cucumbers and tomatoes, so we like to give that to him. Okay, now let me show you what's in our freezer. On the door here, I have some frozen breast milk. My mom usually takes Makai every Friday so I can get some work done. I pump every day that he's not here and then give the milk to her, so I have a little bit of a stash going. One thing I want to preface is like, we're not perfect, right? This is definitely a lot more plastic going on than I would like. I eventually probably want to transition to glass storage, but I just find it harder in the freezer, so I just want to say that. And our freezer is not as clean as our fridge. I do not clean it as often as I probably should. Okay, so saying that, in here, these are like little blueberry squares. I just blended up some blueberries and then froze them in ice cube trays and popped them in here because I like to make Makai oatmeal sometimes in the morning, or like yogurt bowls. Blueberries, for little ones, they're choking hazards, and it's just kind of annoying to always blend it up or chop it up. So I have that. It's literally just blueberries blended up. These, again, I don't know what to think of these, if they're good or not, but these are for when he's teething. These are frozen little shampoo bars I made with green tea and some other herbs. These are some pasta sauces I made from the tomatoes in our garden last year. We had a plethora and I had a bunch of cans I made. However, I haven't actually ever properly canned pasta sauce before. It's something I want to learn to do this year. So I had them all frozen and we only have 2 left. Here, I save all the oat pulp from the oat milk we make and make cookies out of it. So this is the batch we have going on now because I just made some not long ago. And then in this little jar under here, I basically save all our veggie scraps, and I've started saving our garlic scraps and onion scraps separately to make onion powder and garlic powder. So hopefully I can transition from not buying that at the store, but I have not tried that yet. So I'll let you know when I do that. A lot of the stuff up here is also scrap related. So I save all our citrus peels to make citrus cleaner. Essentially, I infuse it with vinegar, but I do want to try the lemon zest at some point with these as well. And I use it for some other cleaning things. Then our apple peels, I save all of these to make homemade apple cider vinegar. So that's what this bag is. And then these are just onion scraps in this bag. Top one is more homemade pizza sauce, and the bottom one is a jar of some more onion scraps. And then in here is some ice cubes of our homemade veggie scrap or veggie stock that I have left. And then this is another bag of garlic scraps in there. So that's everything on the door. We like to make a lot of things from scratch, but you know, I'm not the only one that lives in this house, and Kai likes his treats sometimes. Starting off, the first thing, Kai's ice cream. I mentioned this in a couple of videos. Kai loves his sugar, and he loves his ice cream, and he loves his chocolate. This is something I probably wouldn't advocate towards buying, but we all have to have a treat here and there. And he loves his ice cream. He makes the money, so he can do with it what he wants. So we got some chocolate ice cream in there. And then in the back, we usually have more frozen meals in here, but we kind of been going through them lately because we've been busy with a lot of things. So this is the last batch of chili in there. I love making huge batches of chili and then freezing a bunch of it because it freezes really well. In the back here, I have some homemade cough drops I made, again, just with honey and herbs. And I just like to keep it in the freezer to prevent it from melting at all now that we're getting in the warmer season. Usually have some frozen fruit, so I like to freeze my bananas for smoothies. It makes smoothies way better and creamier. And then we usually have 1 bag of frozen fruit in there. I love cherries. You get them on sale. Usually we stock up. They're regular like $5, and when you get them on sale, they're $3. So really, it's not that bad. He got some fish from the store the other day. Honestly, he never cooks fish. I think he just saw a recipe online that he wanted to try, so we got some fish in there. And then back here, these ball things are pizza dough. I like to make always like a double batch and then freeze some because it's just, again, a really quick dinner to throw together. I want to find a better way to store this than wrapping it in tin foil. I think I'm going to make some more bread bags and try storing these in there, and hopefully the dough doesn't stick because I want to get away from any plastic or one-use items. These are some energy balls I made. I like to store them in the freezer because I just like them when they're frozen and hard. I don't know if that's weird, but I have some of those left. And then these are some homemade bean veggie burgers. Again, stored in this plastic container for my dad. Really want to get away from that. I want to eventually upgrade to all glass containers, but that is what it is for now. And then on the bottom shelf here, so all on this side is more veggie scraps. So these are carrot scraps, veggie scraps, and then a big bag. I don't know if you can see it there, but that's all veggie scraps. So it's basically time for me to make my veggie stock soon. This is actually some more fish. Where we live in a small like Acadian community out in the country. My brother-in-law's parents actually live here and they're big into fishing. So they gave us some fish they caught last year. On the bottom here, I have a bunch of frozen rhubarb. I have 3 bags in there. I have a bunch more frozen in my sister's freezer. She has a deep freeze, so a lot of the stuff we like to put in there because her deep freeze is always half empty, and our freezer, as you can see, is small, and usually more full than this. I plan to make some rhubarb dessert coming up with this soon. And then in my past video, I dehydrated some rhubarb into like fruit roll-up type things. And then we got here just some ice that we fill up for my iced coffee that I like to have. These were some carrots that were kind of going soft, so I chopped them up and froze them up, and then I'll use these for a carrot soup, because with carrots, if they're kind of soft, or with any vegetables, when it's soft and going bad, you can chop it up, throw it in the freezer, and it's great to add to soups, and it still tastes good. We try not to waste here in our family. These are just some frozen blueberries we have left. I like to add just like a tablespoon into our smoothies with some peanut butter and frozen bananas. We picked a whole bunch of frozen blueberries last year, but because we didn't have the freezer space, we only picked enough that lasted us a couple months. But feel like a broken record here. Like I said, Kai works at a food distributing center, and they have local blueberries in these huge boxes. So what we did is we just filled up this jar, put it in our freezer, and then put the rest in my sister's freezer. Thank you, Megan, for letting us store so much stuff in your freezer. And now that it's getting empty, we go there once a week usually to my mom's. My sister lives next to my mom, and then we will fill this up here. And now that we actually have more space, we might do 2 jars, but it's more expensive up front. I think it was like $30, but the box was like literally this big. I don't know how much blueberries were in there. I would have to ask Kai how much it weighed, but it is a lot cheaper. And then also they're local, so you also support local communities, and it's best to eat local because the nutrients is higher that way, and they're frozen at peak nutrient value. So when we can afford it, we like to support local when we can. But this year, I think we're definitely going to try to pick even more frozen blueberries. We would love to get a deep freeze ourselves one day, but we just don't have a place to put it because our house isn't that big. Maybe one day when we put stairs in our basement. Last but not least is we usually have a frozen bag of veggies in there. Again, when things like this are picked and frozen, they're usually frozen at their peak nutrient value. So sometimes it's even better than fresh. And we get these usually when they're on sale. You can get like a bag for like $2, which is great for all the veggies you get. And I got this specific mix because I was making like a minestrone soup when I picked this up. But this is great to add to like sauces, veggie sauces, pasta, soups. So we always have some form of frozen veggie in the freezer. It's a cheaper way to eat veggies. That was everything in our freezer and fridge. I hope this kind of helped you see, you know, the staples, and that you really don't need much in the fridge and the freezer to get by, especially when you make things from scratch. So yeah, I hope this gave you some inspo and show you too that we're not perfect. We don't make everything from scratch. We don't make the butter. We don't make the yogurt. As you can see, when Kai buys ice cream, we have things that we like to splurge on. We're not perfect. If you have any more questions about videos you want to see, recommendations, let me know in the comments below because I want to make videos that you guys are interested in. So with that being said, I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now, guys.